It's Sam Barrack here. We've come from Aberdeen. We've come up in the boat from Aberdeen last night. There's 8 engines here altogether in total. The Barracks have brought 2 engines, the Scots have brought 2 engines, the Cheens have brought 2, and the Cheen Seniors have brought 2 as well. So what we've got here is a 1924 Foden steam wagon. It was originally new to Lanarkshire County Council as a wagon, but when it ended its working life with the council, it was bought by a thrashing contractor and the wheelbase was cut down. A big 400-gallon tank was put on the back so that it could work a whole day's thrashing without having to stop for water. Additional flywheel was put on for belting the thrashing mill, and the cab was extended back as well to give a bit more room in the cab as well. My grandfather bought this engine in 1957. It's been in the Barrack family ever since. It's probably done more miles now since in preservation than it did in its working life. My father drove it all the way to Chesterley Street in 1963, and in 2000 I did the same trip again, which is a trip of about 250 miles. So we're hoping to have a few runs up here in Shetland, but not that kind of distances. But because it only does about 12 mile an hour. 12 mile an hour is about the average speed, although in a flat level bit of ground you can get up as far as 30.
I'm John MacDonald. I've driven up here from Blairgowrie. Got 1 passenger with me. Since I left home, we've done about approximately 220 miles. No troubles, no problems, and we've enjoyed the whole thing so far. I brought the Morgan 1936 Morgan Super Sports 3-wheeler, 990cc matchless engine, several modifications on the car for safety, flashers, hydraulic brakes, some other odd little bits and pieces, mostly all fitted by myself, and it's very successful. I think it'll be my 6th time I've been up, 5th time I've brought the Morgan. I really enjoy coming up here every 2 years. I can tell you a bit about the engine. It's a 990cc overhead valve matchless, air-cooled, model MX2. This is a much modified engine, as it was built basically all by myself from parts which were supplied by a gentleman down south in England as castings, machine castings. I built the engine up. There are 1 or 2 small modifications, but it's very successful, and it is virtually totally oil-free, does not leak.
Okay, hi, my name's Mike Riding, and myself and a few friends are up from Preston. We travelled up over the last 2 or 3 days. It's been really good, really great trip, fantastic. Came across Orkneys and now we're on Shetland. What a fantastic place. Really pleased to be here. We came up in the Volkswagen Samba, which is a 21-window microbus. Most people think it's a camper, but it clearly isn't a camper because it has no camping interior. And what we've done is we've rotated the seats so that they're not in a 3-line row. They're actually rotated in the middle. And the beauty of that means that we can use it as a picnic bus. So as you can see, inside the bus is set out for picnics, and we're using a very old 1950s, 1960s tea set in there to really set the scene.
This is a 1949 Triumph. When I bought her, she had 33 miles on the clock. And the interesting part is it's the same engine as the Grey Ferguson tractor. And I think Harry Ferguson produced 250,000 tractors, at least. They're all dotted around Scotland, do the berry fields and so on. And we're from North Yorkshire, so we've driven up. We made a night stop at Edinburgh, and just no problems at all. So, sorry it's next to a red car, but never mind. This is Lumina Green, by the way, and they've lost the formula, but DuPont can only do a 98% match, because at the end of the war, God knows what they put in the mixes of paint. No one seems to know. Front end's steel, the back end is aluminium, which is why we're positive earth, so we don't get this corrosion problem. Right, what are you going to sell?
Very good. Good morning. This is one of my cars here. I've got 2 of these. This one was found in a scrapyard in Aberdeen in 1974. It was broken back axle, so I bought it, and was going to put it on the road, but decided to rebuild it. It's taken me 30 years to rebuild this car. It was on the road in 2003, and since then we've done many historic rallies with it and hill climbs and various other things. But researching the history of the car, it was a works desk car. It was used as a press car and on many road reports and test drives. It was one of 6 built with a hardtop detachable, which I've still to restore. Otherwise, great fun. There's 8 of these cars going to Le Mans in 5 weeks' time, so it should be quite a sight to see. 276 built in 1 year. They only survived 1 year, the company. 182 exist in the world. There is 7 in Scotland, 3 running, and the rest are all in bits and sheds. And there's 55 in Great Britain, 23 of which are roadworthy.
And this is how we met, coming to shows like this, which, although we don't admit it, we get on great. I'm sorry, although I am sorry I'm next to him. But no,
well, okay.
We'll be at the Foy tonight and
that's right.
have a couple of drinks.
A couple of sherries and have a great time.
Yeah.
But what a great show, really is. One of the best.
And the people of Shetland, fantastic.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, not one complaint except this one.
David Bryan from Stoke-on-Trent, Staffordshire. Come up on Tuesday evening, ferry from Aberdeen, to bring the bike up here for the show and have a holiday as well. And I've found everything so far has been absolutely out of this world. Wonderful people, wonderful Shetland Island, an absolutely great organisation with the people here. It belonged to a friend of mine who died a few years back, and they were selling the BSAs that he'd built to the BSA club, and they were breaking them up and selling them off in bits, and I didn't want to see that. I wanted to see at least one of his bikes being used, and he built it as a Gold Star replica, and I've gone a bit farther by putting a DBD 34 Clubman engine in it, and I just love the bike. It's British and I'm proud.
Party of 18, come all the way from Stone in Staffordshire, down in jolly old England. She's a Bedford YRQ, 1976. We decided to show it this year. We came 4 years ago with a Bristol, but this is the first time we've ever showed. In 1976 it's had 1 or 2 owners before. A friend of mine rescued it. It's one of our local independents of Rugeley near Stone, Middleton's, who are still operating today. He now knows we've got the vehicle. We've been to have a look at it. He's quite pleased to see it back in its colours again, so we aim to keep showing it various rallies throughout the UK. This is the first time it's been across the water. We'll find something different for next time round.
So how are you enjoying Shetland?
I love it. I absolutely love it. It's about my 9th time back here. I don't need an excuse to come back up here. I just love the place.
Right, well, we come from Maidstone in Kent. There isn't a hill we've found yet that we haven't got up, and got a top speed of about 35 miles an hour. It's a very old style Dirac. For 1 year, Mr. Dirac, when he was building cars, decided that if he ran the 2 pistons simultaneously, so that they both came to the top of the cylinder at the same time, he would have one firing and one on an exhaust stroke, and he felt this would make a much better firing order. It certainly gives good torque, but the movement and the lack of balance in the engine makes it very uneven, very bumpy. The mudguards are cracked, bolts come out that need Loctite on them, all sorts of things. It's quite a problem to drive, but a very interesting, phenomenal to see and be seen. Everybody stops, waves, shouts, children jump about as soon as they see us. It's a very, very nice car to drive. This car was built in late 1902, early 1903. It has been running for, we think, the first 30 years or so. Was then put into a garage, and gradually the bodywork deteriorated, and the engine, gearbox and main parts of the chassis were left in a farmyard. They were taken in 1990 and put aside and stored. In 2001-2002 the car was rebuilt, the engine was restored, the gearbox was replaced and the back axle was built. The body has all been reconstructed with new brass fittings all round and a surrey of course to keep the rain out. Buttercup was a name. The colour yellow is an original colour that Derek used, and the last owner felt that it looked very much like the buttercups that she saw in the field, so she thought Buttercup it's going to be.
I'm Harvey Cook, I'm treasurer of the Post Vintage Humber Car Club, and this is our second trip to Shetland. We tend to make a fairly lengthy run of it. We should be away for nearly 4 weeks from home, which is in Northampton, and I expect we should do somewhere around 2,500 miles by the time we get back home. We brought our Series 5A Super Snipe, which is a 1966 car and is one of the last large Humbers built by Humber before the takeover by Chrysler, when they then became much smaller cars in the way of Sceptres and the like. In addition to this car, which we use quite a fair amount, I have a 1935 Humber Pullman, of which there's only 3 known examples in the UK. This we've completely rebuilt over the last 8 or 9 years and is now on the road, even though it still requires 1 or 2 bits and pieces of work carried out to finalise the restoration. Yeah, we enjoy coming up to Shetland here because we find the people so friendly and interesting. We like the show because it has such a collection of vehicles of different types and different makes, and it is totally non-competitive. So you're not out to have the best looking car here or competing with other people with similar cars. You're here because you enjoy the cars and the pastime of classic car motoring.
We're from Finetti, which is near Bucky in Morrishaw, and the car originally was sold in 1962 to a Miss Penny, who was a retired school teacher. She drove it until she couldn't drive anymore, which would be when she was in her 80s. So she sold it on, and the person that bought it put it in a lockup and forgot all about it. And years later, the council got onto him and asked him to take all this stuff out of the garage because they were demolishing it, and he had forgot. He went and opened the garage and there she was still sitting there. He sold it to a couple and we bought it off of them, so that's the history of it.
Well, I'm Lyndon Shearman and I'm here from the Orkney Islands with my family, and this family member, our portable steam engine, whose name is Little Dragon. She worked in the hills in Wales driving a threshing machine till about 1932, and then was derelict for many years, and we've had her in the family since 1981. She was built about 1859 to 61, somewhere about then, so she's about 150 years old this year, and we will be celebrating that birthday in September this year. We've just lit the fire. There's the fire burning nicely, and we're lighting up on a mixture of coal and wood. The engine was built to run on coal, but amazingly, 120 years ago you could have an engine like this specially adapted or made to burn wood fuel or any kind of what we would now call biomass. So sugarcane refuse, straw, things like that. 120 years ago they were burning those, and we think we've reinvented that. However, what I've been doing for the last couple of years is little tests with the engine to run on modern biomass fuels, things like compressed sawdust briquettes, to see how she performs. One of the more interesting fuels was wood blocks cut up from waste by a daycare centre for people with learning difficulties. A, it's carbon neutral. B, it's wood that's not going to waste to landfill. C, it provides an activity for the daycare users. And D, it provides them with a bit of revenue. So we talked today about, environmental, social and economic benefits. That's got all 3. I think what it shows is that for our energy needs in the future, biomass fuels can fill a niche. They may be not the whole answer, but if we can make this work with a 150-year-old steam engine with no adaptations, what could we do if we really put our minds to it?